In this video, you'll learn how to say when and if in German. This causes many difficulties for German learners, especially for native speakers of English. So it's good to have a clear summary of when to use exactly which word. The three different words for when in German are wann, wenn, and als. Wann is used for questions, both for direct questions and for indirect questions. Here's an example of a direct question. Wann beginnt das Spiel? When does the game begin? It's direct because there's a question mark. You're actually asking a question in that sentence. Here's an example of an indirect question. Ich weiß nicht, wann das Spiel beginnt. I don't know when the game begins. It's indirect because it's not a question itself, but it's expressing the idea of a question within a statement. What these two examples have in common, however, is that they are asking the question at what time. Wenn is used for non-questions and can mean two things in particular, if or whenever. Here's an example of if. Sie wird gewinnen, wenn sie gut spielt. She will win if she plays well. So this expresses the conditional element of if. Something will happen only if something else happens. Here's an example of whenever. Sie gewinnt, wenn sie gut spielt. She wins whenever she plays well. Sometimes we translate this into English with when, sometimes with whenever. But when you could say whenever in English, you say wenn in German. Als is used for the past tense, and especially for one-time events in the past. Here's an example. Die Party war vorbei, als wir ankamen. The party was over when we arrived. Notice that the action of arriving is something that has happened in the past, and so we can't use wann or wenn, we have to use als. There's one exception to the use of als for the past tense, and that's if it's a repeated action. In that case, you actually use wenn. Here's an example. Jedes Mal, wenn sie spielte, gewann sie. Every time she played, she won. In this instance, wenn is most often coupled with another time phrase, like jedes Mal. Here are the three different words for if in German. Wenn, ob, and falls. Wenn is used, as we saw on the last slide, as a condition. Here are two examples of wenn. Wenn ich reich wäre, würde ich eine Weltreise machen. If I were rich, I would go on a world trip. Notice that the condition is being rich, and the action which depends on the condition is going on a world trip. Or, sie kriegt Taschengeld, wenn sie den Müll rausbringt. She gets pocket money if she takes out the rubbish. She's only going to get pocket money if, here's the condition, she takes out the rubbish. The second word, ob, can express either doubt, in which case you could translate it with whether in English, or two alternatives. Here's an example of doubt. Ich weiß nicht, ob ich morgen kommen kann. I don't know if or whether I can come tomorrow. Here's an example of two alternatives. Es steht bei dir, ob wir wieder nach England fahren. It's up to you if or whether we go to England again. Here's a clue. If you can say whether in English, you need to use ob. The final translation for if is falls, and this expresses unlikelihood and can also be translated by in case. Here are two examples. Ich komme gerne, falls ich eingeladen werde. I would love to come if I am invited, in the case that I'm invited. Here's a second example. Falls ich mich verspäten sollte, rufe ich vorher an. If I'm late, I'll phone you first. In the case that I'm late, I'll phone you first. In both of these cases, the falls clause expresses the view of the speaker that this is going to be an unlikely action to occur. I hope that summary helps, and the most important thing is to see these again and again in context and to make them automatic in your own speaking and writing by using them as much as possible.